Welcome to Was on Wire. Today we're talking about Khoo Poay Tiong's pointed challenge to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. The Dewan Rakyat has been pretty heated recently, and things definitely escalated when the whole issue surrounding the former Prime Minister Muhyiddin's son-in-law came up again. What really makes this controversial is that the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, a major body with significant resources, has been saying for months now they just can't find him. They need him for an investigation.
And that's exactly the nerve Khoo Poay Tiong hit. He really focused on that specific point. His comments weren't just, political theater. It was a fundamental question about institutional integrity, wasn't it?
Right.
When the agency supposed to guard public funds seems unable to even track down one person, well, people start asking questions, serious questions. Is it about capability or is it about will? Or perhaps resources not being used right? That's the core issue here, and it's vital for accountability.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that, especially the money side. Because Khoo Poay Tiong, he didn't just come with strong words. He came with figures, hard numbers. We're talking about a serious investment here. He pointed out the government gives RM 109 million ringgit just for anti-corruption operations. And that's not even the whole picture, because it looks like that's going up by about RM 15 million in the next budget. That's a massive amount of taxpayer money.
Exactly. And that's where his argument gets its bite, politically speaking. Khoo Poay Tiong used those numbers to highlight what looks like a paradox operationally. He stressed, look, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission has, 11,114 officers?
Wow, over 1,000.
Think about that. More than 1,000 people funded by that huge budget. And yet this apparently powerful force says they can't find one individual.
Yeah, the way he framed it was pretty stark. It makes it sound like this person just vanished, became a ghost, even though he's supposedly a high-profile target.
Well, it certainly creates a problem with public expectation, doesn't it? If you, as a taxpayer in Malaysia, are putting over RM 100 million into an agency like this, you expect them to be effective. You expect results, especially when the case involves possible misuse of public money and links to, a very powerful political family.
Right.
So the whole conversation shifts. It moves away from the complexities of the investigation itself and towards wondering about the agency's competence. Or worse, wondering if there are political reasons they can't act.
And this is where it gets really awkward for the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. Their apparent failure looks even worse when compared to the media. Khoo Poay Tiong specifically mentioned an English newspaper, the New Straits Times. He pointed out they ran a story, a full report actually. They even published a photo. And this was back on October 23rd. They found him, or at least knew where he was.
That comparison is just devastating, isn't it? On one hand, you have a newspaper, standard resources, journalists doing their job, and they get solid information, apparently even a picture. On the other hand, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission. They have legal powers, international contacts, warrants, that massive budget we talked about, and they publicly state they can't locate him.
Yeah.
It suggests a huge gap in either effectiveness or maybe motivation. It's hard not to draw that conclusion.
Which is exactly why Khoo Poay Tiong's question hit so hard. Since the media could locate him, why couldn't the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission? He wasn't just asking for an update. He was basically questioning their whole operational credibility right there in Parliament.
And that naturally leads to the next question, the one about motive. Why is this individual apparently overseas? If, as some defenders suggest, he's completely innocent, why wouldn't he cooperate? Why avoid the investigation? Khoo Poay Tiong's line of questioning definitely implies evasion, a refusal to face the music, so to speak. When someone implicated in something this big seems to go into hiding, public suspicion tends to jump pretty quickly from did he do it to why is he running?
And as soon as those kinds of questions were voiced in the Dewan Rakyat, you saw the defenses go up immediately. Abdul Khalid, the MP for Rampan, tried to shut it down straight away.
Yeah.
He used a standing order 3610.
Yes, Standing Order 3610. For anyone listening who doesn't follow parliamentary procedure closely, that's often used to try and control the debate, or sometimes, let's be frank, to shut down uncomfortable topics. The argument was that Khoo Poay Tiong was just being emotional, bringing up old news, and should focus on, the real problems people are facing.
Classic deflation tactic.
Pretty much. Frame the awkward questions as just noise, a distraction from bread and butter issues.
But Khoo Poay Tiong didn't back down. He pushed back hard. His response was sharp, basically saying, this is the people's problem. Corruption is the people's problem. Wasting public funds is the people's problem. He directly linked the failure to find this one person back to the misuse of taxpayer ringgit. That kind of neutralized the attempt to paint him as just playing politics.
He even widened the scope, didn't he? He pointed out that it wasn't just the opposition raising concerns. He reminded everyone that even some members within Muhyiddin Yassin's own party, Parti Pribumi Bersatu Malaysia, had previously called for him to step down over related matters.
What a strong point.
It really is. It lifts the issue beyond just partisan bickering. It makes it about governance, about ethics across the board, an institutional issue.
And, well, when things get that tense in Parliament, what happens next? The counterattack. Predictable, really. Ahmad Marzuki, the MP for Pengulan Chepa, jumped in. While Khoo was speaking, he suddenly brought up the tunnel issue.
Textbook political maneuvering in the Dewan Rakyat, absolutely. If you can't defend your side effectively against a specific charge, you try to divert. Bring up some old controversy, something sensitive involving the other side. The goal isn't really to argue the point, it's just to muddy the waters, create chaos, and hopefully make people forget the original damaging statement about the MACC.
And it worked, in terms of causing chaos anyway. Things got loud. Khoo Poay Tiong ended up being accused of supporting corruption just for asking about the MSCC's performance. It got pretty heated. The speaker, Johari, had to intervene to calm things down. But importantly, he did allow the debate to carry on. He made the point that MPs have the right to ask questions, as long as the case isn't sub judice, meaning actively before the courts.
And that ruling by the speaker is significant. It basically validated Khoo Poay Tiong's line of inquiry. It confirmed that asking about the MACC's effectiveness and the status of this individual, well, that's a legitimate matter of public concern. It needs to be discussed no matter how politically uncomfortable it might be.
Okay, but what about the actual defense? Because there was a specific argument made. Maud Radzi, the MP for Putrajaya, he called Khoo's statements malicious speculation. His main point seemed to be rejecting any suggestion that Muhyiddin Yassin was somehow shielding his son-in-law, framing it as an unfair attack.
Yes, and Radzi's defense was quite clever strategically. It shifted the focus of who's responsible. He argued that finding any fugitive, any at all, is purely the job of the enforcement agencies, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, the police, not the former prime minister, and he brought up the Jao Low case to make his point.
Ah, right. He said bringing back Jao Low was never seen as Najib Razak's personal job. It was the state's responsibility.
Precisely. That's a key distinction, legally and politically. What Radzi is doing is demanding consistency. He's saying treat this case the same way you treated the Jao Low situation. Put the responsibility entirely on the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission to do its job, which, conveniently for his argument, takes the pressure off the former prime minister regarding his son-in-law's current whereabouts.
So boiling this all down, this whole debate really threw three big tensions into the spotlight, didn't it? First, there's the question about the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission itself, its actual effectiveness. Are they really making the best use of that RM 109 million budget and all those officers?
Second, you clearly see how corruption issues are used and how potent they are as political weapons. These accusations fly back and forth, used to undermine opponents. It's a cycle.
And third, that fundamental tussle over accountability. Where does the responsibility of a powerful figure end? And where does the duty of an institution like the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission begin? It's a blurry line sometimes.
Yes, but at the end of the day, the operational question looms largest, I think. We know the agency has huge resources, over 1,000 staff. We also know the media with far fewer resources and powers apparently located this individual months ago.
It really forces you to wonder, is the problem a lack of skill, or is it perhaps a lack of political green light to really go after this? Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.